So what's up with Filipinos and rice, right? Like, I'm a foreigner. I traveled quite a lot. Asia and Europe and Australia, of course, where I'm from. And every country's got a carbohydrate that they prefer. I have some Polish heritage. We're a potato country. Italians, it's gonna be breads, pastas. And in Asia, yeah, it's typically rice. It grows here, I get that. But I don't think I've ever encountered a population with as much resistance to like changing their carbohydrate even when they travel. So when I travel, I eat what the local carbohydrate is. I eat a lot more rice when I'm in Asia than in Australia, where I eat a lot more bread. But Filipinos, just whatever they're having, they gotta have rice. It's just crazy. You know, and like I'll cook a really beautiful meal for like my Filipino in-laws, and there's this like beautiful tray of herby roast potatoes, or a big bowl of delicious creamy mash, or there's a huge pasta, and they're like, "May kanin ka ba?" And you're just like, "Did you just ask me for rice? This beautiful meal I cooked you, like, can you have one meal without it?" And the answer is no, right? And my colleague Erwan, he even asked the question like, "Do you really need that extra cup of rice?" And Filipinos were like, "Yeah, we need it, Erwan. We need the extra cup. We need the rice. No quinoa, thanks." You know, so like the people have really spoken on this, like they want the rice. So today's vlog is all about rice and why Filipinos are obsessed with it, how it got to this state, the resistance to adopting other carbohydrates, the only rice phenomena, anything. Like you want to make money in this town, you put a sign outside your store saying only rice, and bang, it's like 3,000 Filipinos lining up. Even if you're not even in the food industry, you could be selling car parts, you put a sign up saying only rice. Filipinos are gonna be queuing up outside the door. You're gonna be like, "Yeah, here's a wiper blade and some rice, only." They're gonna buy. So let's get into it. I mean, this only rice thing is such a big deal that when Senator Cynthia Villar tried to implement a suggestion, not even a bill or a law, that they ban only rice in restaurants to try and encourage Filipinos to eat more balanced meals with more vegetable to rice ratio, it just sparked like outrage across the Philippines that this was just like the worst thing that the government could possibly do, was to try and encourage them to eat less rice. Well, that kind of backfired spectacularly, and she had to kind of back down on this one pretty quickly, or probably face it being thrown out at the next election, right? That's how big a deal this only rice thing is for Filipinos. And what's fascinating is the Philippines is actually the world's 8th largest producer of rice. And the Philippines, it's probably about the 8th largest country in the world by head of population as well, being at about 100 million now, probably in the top 10, I would say. And funnily enough though, the Philippines is still an importer of rice. So it's like one of the biggest producers in the world, and you still have to import it. I can understand, like Australia, we have 20 million people, right? Not a lot of people. We have a shit ton of agricultural land. We're one of the world's biggest producers of grain. Okay, we export grain. The Philippines is one of the world's biggest producers of rice, and they need more rice. They need the rice of the rest of Southeast Asia to come here, because I think per head of population they're eating so much more. And I actually don't even know the answer to this. I've seen similar things in Indonesia, and you guys know I spent a lot of time here as well, where what they say is, "Kalau nggak makan nasi, nggak kenyang." Now that means if you don't eat nasi, is rice or kanin, you don't feel kenyang, which is busog or satisfied. So they say the same thing in Indonesia, that it's almost a feeling that they cannot feel full with any other carbohydrate than rice, which I find strange because I can fill up on rice, potatoes, pasta, bread, any of them. I can feel full from eating. Okay, of course, I'm being a bit cheeky and saying Filipinos just eating all of the rice. Of course, there's some pressures on agricultural land in the Philippines. The population grows, more land is being converted into residential condominiums, into business purposes. So that agricultural land is obviously being diverted away to other purposes. And the Philippines does suffer from a really high proportion of natural disasters, far more than its fair share, because of its proximity to those big typhoons that come in from the Pacific Ocean. So there are some reasons why Philippines import a lot of rice, but let's not discount the fact that one of the biggest reasons is just because they eat so much of it. And the other thing that's really interesting is yung parang na how rice has penetrated just about every category of food. So it's not just like you have rice with ulam. You then have kakanin. So basically the entire Philippine dessert is also based on rice, right? So in other countries it's often based on, you know, the desserts are going to be a bit more dairy-based or fruit-based or something. Dito sa Pilipinas, kahit yung mga sweets na are also full of rice. Then you have rice for breakfast. So if you have any rice left over the night before, then you're going to make sinangag the next day. Have it for breakfast. You're going to magsaing ulit ng tanghalian, and then magsaing ulit ng dinner time, and then leftover rice ng breakfast. So it's really 3 courses a day, and then typically for snack also in the form of kakanin that you're consuming rice. And of course, you can check out how I make a lot of my kakanin. Dito will put a link up to my favorite kakanin, and we've also like made like, you know, biko and suman before, and there's some of my favorite Filipino rice cakes. Don't get me wrong, I think they're delicious, but oh my god, so mamigat. I can eat like just one tiny square of biko and I'm full, but Filipino will be like 12 biko and they're still going, right? And Filipinos even will put rice into when they're feeling sick or when they want like a porridge, a hot porridge. That's all going to be rice based as well. We have, you know, lugao, arroz caldo, we have champorado, chocolate flavored rice, like rice, everything. Talagang karamihan dito sa Pilipinas. And Filipinos are masters of cooking rice as a result. So most people would measure when they make rice. Like when I make rice, I'm like, okay, it's like 1 cup of rice or 1 part rice to 3 parts water. And I'll sit there with a cup and I'll measure it, right? Filipinos, I've noticed, have the ability to use any kind of lalagyan to measure. They don't use a standard metric cup. They'll use a tin can. They'll use like a coffee cup. They'll use whatever to scoop the rice out. They'll put it in and then they just look at it and then they just add exactly the right amount of water. Most people like then just use their fingers like a depth charge to work out that the rice is like half and the water is about half. And over years of making it, they know exactly the right depth when they put their finger in that yields a perfect rice. So it's like I think they need a recipe book for most things, but Filipinos can instinctively cook rice, like with their eyes closed. You could take away 5 of their sides, as long as they can feel the water level, they can cook rice. Ganon talaga Filipino. And you know, it's extreme. Like if a Filipino had just 5 pesos left in his pocket, he's gonna spend it on rice. Like you guys have heard of this thing in Pasig, this kanin bao. So ito naman, they take all the leftover rice from the carinderia that day, that's stuck to the caldero, that's stuck to the bain-marie that they were serving in, whatever. And then they basically mix it with whatever leftover ulam they had. So that's the sabaw or bao. My kids call it their bao. Like when they're 2 years old, they can't say sabaw yet, so it's like bao when they want to eat. And that's kanin bao. And they'll just give it to you in a plastic and you just like cut a hole and just like squirt it in your mouth from the plastic bag, and you can get that for like 5 pesos. It's like the leftover food, super cheap if you just need some sustenance. But like literally your last 5 pesos, if you only had 5 pesos in the Philippines to your name, you're gonna spend it on rice, guaranteed. This is a really crazy obsession with rice, and given the Filipinos has adapted so many other cuisines, I'm constantly talking about how they've integrated Spanish style cooking, they've integrated American, they've integrated chicken. But it's like when fried chicken came in, we didn't start eating it with pritong patatas. I know that's on the menu at Jollibee, but you're gonna eat it with rice. Filipinos eat fried chicken with rice. Why are they eating it with French fries? Like that's in Australia, we have KFC. It's KFC chicken and fries. It's not KFC chicken and rice. Like where in the world is this happening with the Philippines? That it's rice with American fast food. Then you have the Spanish dishes, so think like morcon, think empanadas, or think caldereta, or yung relleno mano. I don't think the Spanish were eating this with rice. They bring that food to the Philippines, magbagay na sa rice. Everything magbagay sa rice. So it's like we integrated all these culinary influences, but the one thing that Filipinos won't negotiate on or compromise on in the cuisine is that it's gotta be with rice. So I don't know the answer to this. I wanna find out from all of you, what is the answer? Why are Filipinos so obsessed with kanin 5 times a day, every meal, this like refusal to substitute other forms of carbohydrate? Because I'm very happy to try any carbohydrate in the world. I really wanna hear your views on this. This is an unexplained mystery to me as a guy who's seen different countries around the world. Even like Vietnam, they eat a lot of French bread now. It's like really in their cuisine. They have like their noodle soup with like a French baguette, you know, or French style roll. Like they've taken European style bread and made it a part of the cuisine. This never happened in the Philippines. So leave a comment, guys, and I'd love to hear what you think. And check out the Facebook page. You can write to me anytime, christophercooking.com. My book's coming out. Drop me a line if you want to get yourself a copy in the next couple of months. And I'm just really curious to find out why Filipinos and rice are like peas in a pod. They're like the moon and the stars. They're like Romeo and Juliet, 2 star-crossed lovers that will never be divided in life or in death. That's how Filipinos are obsessed with it. I want to find out why. Leave your comments below. I'm Chris Urbano. See you next time. Bye now.